Although we're apart these days, we're sharing more. Geico sharing more, too. The Geico Give Back, 15% off car and motorcycle policies, both current and new customers. 15% off all policies. Go to thegeico.com. Here's a story. I'm not going to give it a bunch of time. It's kind of nonsense. LeBron says he considered playing in the NFL during the 2011 lockout. Oh, stop. First of all, LeBron was all-state in Ohio. Yeah, what a shock. A 6'8", 225-pound wide receiver dominated 5'9" corners in Ohio. In high school. Ohio's got 28 guys a year that are all-state. So does California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Virginia, Florida, Texas, Georgia. Most of those states, are better than Ohio football players out of high school. Secondly, Michael Jordan is physical. He got in fights with everybody. Why? He grew up with brothers beating on him. Dwayne Wade's the most physical player I've ever seen at 6'4.5". Why? Why does he attack the rim? He grew up with brothers, wrestling, fighting. You'll find a lot of UFC fighters grew up with brothers, tough guys, wrestling, fighting brothers. LeBron isn't a physical guy. LeBron doesn't want to play center. He doesn't. LeBron doesn't want to go down low. He'll drive over smaller players. LeBron wants to shoot threes. LeBron's never gotten into a fight in 15 years in the league. He doesn't even move toward them. He moves away. He's not for the physical stature of LeBron. He is big and strong. He's not a fighter. He's a lover, not a fighter. He's a giver, not a taker. He's not a physical player. Now, he can take smaller guys to the basket and score on him, but rim protectors like Roy Hibbert have bothered him. He doesn't attack the rim when there's bigs there. He doesn't like it. He likes Kevin Love and Chris Bosh to go to the outside, take the big guy away so he can score uncontested at the rim or over a smaller guy. There's a dozen pieces of footage about Pippen and Jordan scoring over Patrick Ewing, dunking in his face. They're physical guys. They love to fight. They like conflict. They get in your face. That's why Pippen and Jordan got along. That's not LeBron's game. To play in the NFL, you got to like contact. And LeBron's too big to be a receiver. He would have been a tight end. You gotta love to get hit, and you gotta like to hit. That's not who LeBron is. He's never been that guy. He's a really unbelievably, shockingly big, strong player who doesn't want to play center ever. He doesn't like to. He wants to shoot threes. His game's moved out, not in. And if you put a big guy in the middle, he doesn't have any interest contesting him at the rim. He'll pull up. Remember the old joke? He wouldn't post up J.J. Barea against Dallas in the finals. It was like a running joke. That's not his game. That's not who he is. He has the ability to freight train smaller guys, but he's never like major conflict. He never has. I mean, Michael Jordan, in the documentary that favored him, was fighting guys constantly. He would get in your face. He would punch. He would throw punches. He would go after you. Michael, if he wanted to play football, he just didn't like it, never played it. Dwayne Wade, to me, is a guy that if he would have loved football, his psychology is built for football. Tough guy. Grew up with brothers, fighting. I mean, Dwayne Wade never backed down from anybody. Anybody. It's not a size thing because Charles Barkley said he went out for practice one day and he hated football. I didn't want to get tackled. You know, I think you have to have a mentality to play football, not just because you're big. There are a lot of big guys that aren't tough. You watch UFC, there's a lot of small guys that are just a bag full of hammers. But LeBron's not a football player. Get nonsense. All right, Joey with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So the Dolphins are hoping Tua will be their franchise quarterback for years to come, but there's not a guarantee that he's going to start week 1 of this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick is still in line for that spot, and even though he knows that Tua is the future, he is hoping he gets his playing time this season too.
His biggest cheerleader right now, but I also want to be out there playing. You know, I also want to be on the field, and that's kind of why I'm still doing it, because I still enjoy playing the game. So hopefully some of the lessons I'm able to teach him are him watching me play. But if it's the other way around, you know, I'm going to do my best to help him succeed in the best way that he can.
You know what? You know a new business idea? I would pay pay-per-view. I would pay to watch the Dolphins practices with Fitzpatrick and Tua. I would pay to watch them.
Well, I mean,
I would pay to watch Joe Burrow. I would pay to see if Tua and Fitzpatrick watch him in practice, because I think Tua's going to blow up about a day into practice, and everybody's going to go, oh, my God, we got to play him. They don't want to. I think they're going to be forced to.
Well, generally, obviously, when this is not going on still, training camp practices are mostly open to fans. So not the whole practice, obviously, but they,
I want to
you
watch
can't go out
Tua
there
at
as a fan
practice.
and watch.
I want to watch Tua at practice.
I would love to see Tua and Burrow in practice. I mean, obviously, not everyone is practicing right now. We'll get to that a little bit later, but yeah, I mean, it's the thing about Tua is this: I would like for him to chill a little bit.
But he's too good.
It's not that his star factor is too high.
No, he's just too good of a player.
He is a good player, but I mean, he's coming off of a hip injury. We're dealing with a pandemic. It might be a better situation for him to wait a few weeks than to throw him in the fire. I think Joe Burrow should start week 1. If you're the number 1 overall pick, you should be starting week 1, or you should not be the number 1 overall pick. I felt the same way about Baker Mayfield. But right. I think there's just going to be too much pressure too quickly to get Tua out there. And I mean, not that I think that Brian Flores is the type of guy that, leans in on pressure from fans and whoever else, but yeah, I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to last very long at the beginning of the season, when it might actually be a better situation for him to sit behind Fitzpatrick for a little while. So Tom Brady has started getting some work in with his new teammates. He was spotted at a Tampa prep school yesterday with a handful of Bucs players, organizing route combinations and situational drills, and his arm reportedly looked live during the throwing session.
What? His arm's not his issue.
I don't know.
His birth certificate's his issue. It's not his arm.
Everyone is so concerned about Tom Brady's arm. This is not surprising. As soon as it was allowed by authorities for him to get out there and start practicing, they assumed that Tom Brady was going to get out there. And obviously, they're not allowed in facilities. The NFL hasn't allowed anyone except no coaches, just some personnel and players who are getting rehab are allowed to go into facilities, so they're having to find somewhere else to do it. Like I said, they were at a prep school, but it's not like you really need your coaches there to start doing route drills. I'm pretty sure Tom Brady can organize those pretty easily. So there was a handful of players out there, Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, and Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin were there too. So it's just taking advantage of a little lightening of the rules for social gathering and getting some workouts in, but I think you're going to start seeing more and more of this as things starting to loosen up. And I'm sure Tom has been itching to get out there and get some work in. So finally, Cam Newton is on the market waiting for his next NFL opportunity. And according to Fox Bet, the Patriots are still the favorites to land the former MVP at plus 270. The Steelers are second at plus 400. Then Washington, Denver, and Seattle still has odds at plus 1,000.
Generally, when you see these odds, somebody knows something. I don't think he fits New England at all, but I just don't think it works at all.
I would be
shocked.
I think I would be more shocked at the Patriots bringing in Cam Newton than I would be about Tom Brady going to the Bucs.
Yeah, so would I.
It's more dramatic.
Yeah, when I was surprised he went to the Bucs, but you could rationalize the Bucs very quickly. Bruce Arians is loose. It's warm weather. His wife, I'm told, wanted to go to Miami. They got a bunch of new weapons.
Yet still, out of all the places that we were discussing, I thought that the Bucs was the last on the list. So it was still very surprising to me, and we knew that Tom Brady was pretty much leaving. Like, we know Cam Newton's going to end up somewhere, but I don't know. I don't see the Patriots. And again, I hope that he does get an opportunity to be a starter again in the league, and I think he will. I think the Steelers is the best place for him, but I mean, wouldn't you like? I think my jaw would drop if the Patriots. And they have the best odds.
It's just not stylistically a fit. It's just not at all. Pittsburgh
in
is,
any way, like personality.
None of it fits.
I don't know. Well,
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Dak Prescott used to be sympathetic. Now I'm over him. Let's bring in Nick Wright. First things first, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing on the Coward Global Satellite Network. Okay, so Dak wants to be paid, according to a story this morning, better than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has 100 touchdown passes in 3 years. Nobody's close in the league. I have come to the point now, I think I've come to your side. I'll just go with Andy Dalton. I'm done with it. It's nonsense to me. Well, I mean, I can imagine what you thought about the story.
Well, listen, I think the key point here is Dak, in addition to wanting near, if not above the top of the market's pay, he wants a short contract so he can get another bite at the apple as quickly as possible. And the latest report is that he didn't want the 5th year. And if he wanted the 5th year, it's going to have to be something obscene, the Patrick Mahomes territory of we're talking $45 million. And at some point, Colin, I've used this analogy before, and I'll use it again. It's apropos with you because you own so many properties around the world. At some point, the price of the house, no matter how much you love the house, you say, I got to walk away. Like, I thought I was going to move here. I thought I was going to live here. I loved it. My wife loved it. Amazing open floor plan, but you got to be kidding me. And if you're not going to negotiate in good faith, then at some point you've got to walk away. And so we have been dealing with these Dak Prescott negotiations, Colin, for 16 months. I don't know why people think they're all of a sudden going to get resolved in the next 56 days, because that's how long until the deadline hits to where he just plays this year under the franchise tag. And I think that's where this is headed, Colin.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So now we're getting to the point after the MJ doc, as people are psychoanalyzing it. Some guy in the New Yorker said, Michael's just empty and lonely and miserable and just a miserable human being. Mm-hmm. I don't see that. I think his relationships with his parents are amazing, his agent, his coaches, Dean Smith, Phil Jackson. And now it's Horace Grant calls him a snitch. He snitched. Michael thinks I snitched on him for a book, blah, blah, blah. I think we're trying to psychoanalyze Michael. I think he's great, and I think he's absurdly competitive, and that ticks off people. That's how I see it. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought Horace got a bad rap in this. Now, it's been rumored for the better part of 30 years that Horace was one of Sam Smith's primary sources for that book, pardon me. But he clearly wasn't the only one. There's a 300-page book. It didn't all come from Horace, and Horace gets thrown under the bus there. I did think Horace made a good point, which is episode 1 of the doc, Michael gets asked about the Bulls' alleged traveling cocaine circus, and he says, yeah, I walked into a hotel room. Every single one of my teammates is there with cocaine and women. I mean, there's a word for that. It is called snitching, even if it's 35 years later. So